You're listening to the Successors podcast with Kara Oosterhuis on RealAgriculture.com.
Okay, folks, it's time for episode 6 of the Successors podcast. I'm your host, Kara Oosterhuis. I, as always, am so excited to be here with you all, wherever or however you are listening. I know every month I'm saying this, that I cannot believe another month has passed, but somehow we are already at the end of November. I feel like lately I've had a lot of questions on, are you done your Christmas shopping and things like that? And I go, oh my goodness, we are there already. Somehow this year seemed to blink by in some ways. So, as many of you are aware, I'm based in southern Alberta, so harvest has been done for quite some time. However, out east, harvest is still wrapping up, especially with a lot of rain delays they had. And my guest today, and yes, you heard that right, guests, plural, finished up corn harvest this week. So now it is full winterizing mode over there. But I'm thinking they'll maybe want a couple days of rest first. Without further ado, today's guests are Luke and Katie Grove of Blackstock, Ontario. How's it going over there today?
Good. How are you, Kara?
I am doing well. And Luke, you're doing good down there too?
Yep.
Well, hey, that is always great to hear. So as I said, you guys are down in Blackstock, Ontario, which I believe is just east of Toronto. And Luke, this is where you grew up. This is where you came from. Do you want to tell me a bit about the operation? What do you guys have going on down there?
Yeah, so we farm about 3,500 acres between planting and harvesting every year. Good portion of that's custom work. We do everything from custom planting, spraying to harvesting. And then we got 800 head of sheep that we breed. And then I guess another business, we're running a construction business on the other side of things. So we're pretty busy around here. I guess we're just about an hour and a half east of Toronto.
Now, are you guys involved in all aspects of the farm or just specific parts?
Yeah, we both farm full-time. I joined Luke farming in 2019. He's been on the farm full-time since we moved back from college in 2015.
Now, did the two of you actually found Spring Grove Agri, or how did that work?
No, that company's been around since the 90s, I want to say. I think before that. I guess my dad bought a combine out of high school, and I think that's kind of when it all started. So we kind of took it over, more just on the work end of things. Hasn't been full ownership change or anything, so it's more about transfer or hostile takeover, maybe, if you will.
And Katie, talk a bit about your background. You are not originally from out east. How did you end up out there?
Yeah, I grew up on a small beef farm in the interior in BC, and then went to Olds College in Alberta, which is where I met Luke, and followed him back east after our 2-year diploma.
So I know you guys are pretty open when it comes to this kind of thing, so we're going to dive right in. Talk a bit about the trials and tribulations of being a husband and wife team. It's got to be tough at times.
I'd say separate tractors are key. But we, our whole life, before we were working together, farming's not just a job, it's a lifestyle, right? So our dinner chat is farming. You get up in the morning, you have coffee, you make a plan for the day, and that's kind of always how it's been. So it was an easy transition when I started on the farm full time. Yeah, we're lucky we do actually like each other still.
No doubt. Liking each other is probably an important part to keeping the operation running. So, speaking of which, obviously you have those conversations at the dinner table, but it's also important to have that business and personal life separation. How do you guys tackle that?
Yeah,
I'm a big advocate for that. Sometimes I have to remind Luke, we don't run equipment on Sundays. And Luke will just want to talk about the plan for the week, and I sometimes have to remind him that that's our day, that's family day. We can talk about our plan Monday morning.
I'm told to stop talking about the day when we're on our way home in the pickup after harvesting, or on the weekends. That next week doesn't really matter yet, even though it's already spinning through my head, and getting that sorted out. And I guess most of the time, if we have our indifferences when we're harvesting and Katie's running the buggy, they normally, for 95% of the time, they stay in the field and and don't come home and get hashed out over dinner.
Yeah, and that's so important too. And like you said, that's the unique part about farming is it is a lifestyle. It's not just a matter of going to work and coming home. So you guys are still in the beginning stages of the succession plan. However, it is a conversation that has been happening and obviously is slowly going into process. Luke, do you want to talk a bit about that process of you and Katie coming back home and what some of those conversations have been like?
I guess we really started getting after succession planning maybe 5 years ago now. Yeah, about 5 years ago. So we do have 3 separate companies, and I do have 3 siblings that we're all heavily involved in the 3 companies, or like we're each involved in one company more so than the other. So it's been an ongoing process for the last 5 or 6 years of kind of sorting things out and what's going to happen and what if this and what if that. And it's something that's always we've always been top of mind and kept talking about it. I don't know if it's something I don't know if you ever really get finished, but it's something we continue to work on as a family and year in and year out, and as things rapidly change.
How much of your succession planning do you find is not just the here and now or the near future, but looking into the far future?
I think that plays a huge part in it, where we want to be in 5 to 10 years from now. We're got some big dreamers and big idea people around, and that always keeps the future vision bright, and what we want to do from where we're at now to 5 years from now. And that, even more so confuses the process of succession and planning things out. When if things stayed the same for a couple of years or even maybe a couple months, it'd be a lot easier to make plans and stay on board with them. But I think we do a good job of doing that while maintaining the driving force ahead in the businesses.
And Katie, do you want to talk about some of the challenges or maybe successes too of coming into a business that you didn't necessarily grow up in?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. Like I said, I grew up on a very small beef operation, and then the Groves have big equipment, big land, way too many sheep. But I kind of slowly integrated myself into it. Like as soon as we moved back here, I made myself a part of it, whether they wanted me to or not, I'm not really sure. And then it took me 3 or 4 years to become a full-time employee. But yeah, just a lot of learning and just listening to everyone and sometimes voicing my opinion, but I'm sure they all love it.
If there's anyone listening that might be in the same situation as you, going back to a significant other's family farm, any tips or any recommendations on things there?
Yeah, I think respect is a huge thing. I've been lucky. My in-laws and Luke's siblings have always welcomed me into their family meetings and business planning. And for a while, I just listened. All the businesses intertwining is very complicated. And then slowly, as Luke and I were taking over, we would put our little spin on things. But I think just being respectful of everyone else and knowing that it's not your business now, but one day it's going to be. And you have a lot of learning to do.
Obviously, you guys got a lot of different things going on there. How do you stay organized? How do you keep track of everything and, all the balls up in the air?
We're very fortunate with having the few different businesses. We do have an accountant, a controller that works for the business. So that keeps all our office stuff in line. We have a home office and then a bigger office about half hour away. And then there's a lot of people to help and lean on when you need the assistance as well.
And elaborate a bit more on the importance of having that support group around. Do you guys have any peer advisory groups you're a part of or anything like that?
Not necessarily like that, but our business partner with the sheep actually started working for Luke's dad on the farm 25 years ago or so. So he's a big role model and help that way. Obviously, Luke's dad and his older brother.
We've also got we got a real tight-knit group of guys in the community that farm. They're kind of all with our business partner. They're kind of his age, but we own a couple of sprayers with a few different farmers in town, and they're good guys just to kind of leaders in the community and agricultural stuff. Always trying out new things. They're good guys that to bounce ideas off that are going through it. They're kind of, the generation between us and my parents. So they've kind of been through it with their parents, and they've all got kids that are, early teens to, I don't know, late 10-year-olds, I guess you call that, they're getting ready to kind of start planning on doing some of this stuff now, and not any peer groups per se, but definitely some good people around to talk about things with openly.
There's no doubt about that kind of having that in between your age and your parents. I find those kinds of mentors really can provide perspective in ways that maybe your parents can't and people the same age as you can't. So I totally get that there. Now, in the custom world, you guys are obviously paying attention to machinery and you're bringing in new pieces of equipment to your farm. How do you guys keep on top of all the tech that's out there and changing machinery? What sorts of things do you do there?
I don't know if you can ever stay on top of it, but staying, I don't know. I guess it'd be that same thing of having lots of people around that are, willing to try different things. We got one guy that works in our sprayer group who's, always trying out. He's a fertilizer salesman. He's always trying out different things and different types of cover crops and intercrops in corn and stuff, and really pushing the boundary that way. But just guys around that are willing to try things and learn from, that we don't always have to be, testing out everything every year, but there's other people around that we can kind of bounce ideas off of and what worked and what didn't work year to year.
Okay, what sorts of tech are you paying attention to? What could you really see picking up or maybe one day implementing into your own operation? That
is a good question. I don't know if I really have a good answer for it. In the next few years, we were looking at we were at a meeting this summer, a plot day for Pioneer, and they had a demo out, spreading and spraying with drones. And I think the technology is a long way away, but we've been struggling the last couple of years with the Western meat cutworm in the corn. The chemical gets a little pricey, and making another pass over the corn adds up in a hurry. But I think, I would be neat in the next 10 years or so is if there's technology out there to fly one of these drones and pinpoint these hot spots, so you can just spot spray for these bugs instead of spraying a whole field of insecticide and just going out there and doing it as safely as possible and efficiently as possible. If that's one thing, I definitely think I guess that the AI side of things would be a very interesting way to go in the next 10 years. I think it could make a huge difference.
And I think it's incredible, even if you look at the last couple of years, how far we've come when it comes to that spot spraying technology, and how, a couple of years ago you'd see it at trade shows and it seemed like a very, foreign futuristic idea. And now you're starting to see it on some of the bigger sprayers and more mainstream things. So it's definitely interesting.
Yes, for sure.
Katie, anything out there that has been catching your eye?
No, I am still pretty new to the whole equipment thing, so I like my pretty basic tools, and then I lean on Luke for the rest of that.
When it comes to the day-to-day operations, you guys are going to be changing equipment as the season goes by, but say, for example, when you're in harvest, I know, Katie, you had mentioned you drive the buggy. Do you guys tend to keep the same positions year to year, or do you guys switch off? How does that usually work?
We basically keep our roles. I run the drill, Luke runs the corn planter, and then I am the buggy girl for wheat harvest, and Luke is the combine guy. I will occasionally kick him out. I enjoy the relaxing part of the buggy.
Yeah, I mean, you talk to those grain cart drivers. I'm going to call it a grain cart because that is the right way to call it. So sorry, Ontario. But anyways, you hear the stories of the grain cart operators, and the neck gets pretty sore. So I'll give you that. I can see why you'd maybe want to switch every once in a while. Give Luke a chance to run it.
Yeah, for sure. But not to throw Luke under the bus, but we finished up corn yesterday, and I got in the combine for the last 15 or 20 acres, and Luke hadn't run the buggy in a bit, and he had quite the spill. So I guess really back on.
The sign language skills weren't quite up to par?
Yeah, he actually texted me and suggested I use some hand signals, so I showed him the only one I knew.
Yeah, that'll get you. So, challenges to the industry right now. What do you think is the biggest kind of facing a young person that would be in ag right now?
Consumers are always I don't want to say a problem, but a challenge. Like understanding why we do things, what we use, how we use them. That's always a challenge, and just it'd be better if people understood more. And I think like we have a bit of an Instagram page that I like to just keep people informed and let them know that farmers aren't the bad guy. What about you?
I think one thing young farmers have to worry about going forward, I think what we need to be worried about is more policies coming in and limiting or maybe restricting, I don't know what the right word is, what we can do on certain things. I think some people take, they go out there and they do what they want on, like, let's just say road travel, for instance. Like, we need to be more diligent as a agricultural community about making sure our equipment's safe for the road. I mean, I guess we live in a rural town, but it's not very rural compared to a lot of places. Just being more vigilant on stuff like that and different uses of chemical and pesticides and making sure that we're not causing more headaches for ourselves down the line by misusing or mistreating what we have or our freedoms right now on use and traveling down the road and such like that.
And how do you keep yourself educated when it comes to some of these policies and what exactly is out there when it comes to restrictions? Like
for the road travel one, I know that the OFA, I believe that would be the right site. They kind of keep a good top notch up on safety and road travel and that kind of stuff. The other stuff, you just kind of hear about things and read about things and like a few years ago, it was kind of all of a sudden, we weren't allowed to use neonics on our corn seed, which we'd been using for a few years now and seemed to have good success with, and we had to pivot. And, with good crop rotation, we haven't had an issue like that. But I guess just keeping up to date on different farm articles and listening to different podcasts and stuff, you can kind of stay up to date with who's talking about what and how serious we have to be about making some changes or benefiting ourselves. And like, I mean, a lot of it's fertilizer application too. They talk about runoff and leaching and stuff, and that's just something I think we need to pay attention to so we don't run ourselves into a corner and get restricted on how we do things.
Now, with your job comes a lot of windshield time, and I'm sure you guys both enjoy it, but there's got to be times when those weeks seem to just blend together in the thick of the busy season. What are some of the things you guys do to keep your head straight when it comes to spending all that time in equipment?
Kind of like what I mentioned earlier, the Groves have a policy we don't run equipment on Sunday, so that is a great refresh for us. We'll run hard 6 days a week and then be able to kind of recoup on the Sunday. Also, like Luke kind of mentioned, I like to listen to podcasts on the tractor, switch between radio stations.
I do a lot of singing.
Yes.
And I'm pretty good at
it. Does your audience in the tractor tell you that?
Yes, yeah, they don't mind. I just wear plugs and everybody else is happy in there.
And, I think a good, happy singing note is a great place to wrap it up today. So thank you very much for your time, you guys. This has been fun.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
And thanks to all of you who tuned into episode 6 of the Successors. It's always fun to see your interactions, whether you're emailing or connecting with me on social media. I really do love to hear from you. This is why I do what I do, because I love having these conversations. You guys all have such different, fascinating stories. We can all be in the same industry and we come from so many different walks of life. It's great to get together and be able to talk about it. So thank you very much. And as always, get a hold of me on Twitter at Kara Oosterhuis. And yes, that's a double O at the beginning of my last name. Or send me an email, koosterhuis@realagriculture.com. Until next time, stay real, and thanks for listening to The Successors.